get the dick out of the White House day.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
It's gonna be a great day. I'm so very excited.
You know what?
Yeah.
I did not watch NPR today, but you did.
I did. I didn't. Yeah, I watched a little bit of NPR.
I listened to it
on the Insta. I haven't actually tuned in anything, but I was able to catch the moment that number 45 walks on to Marine One, and Melania couldn't get on the damn helicopter fast enough.
Was she holding his hand at all?
I did not.
No, I think he can on the stairs, but
yeah, I did not see any hand holding. Now, also when I caught this, it is them like halfway up the stairs. She is like beeline for the inside of Marine One, and that fucker turns around, holds his fist up with his little clenched up face, then gives a wave, and I'm like, angry. I was angry.
Okay,
in that moment,
like I just want those, because I know a lot, it's polarizing. And I understand we live in a polarizing state. Not really, it's really red, but in a blue city. But let's just think about it. What if it was flipped? What if it was your side, or not, a side that you did not support, that threw up a fist? What would you think?
I would still say, what a piece of shit. That's not how you do it.
Me too. Like, I just feel like, is that what you want to leave with? I did not know that, and I'm having a big problem. No matter who you are or where you stand, I just feel like, think about what a fist means and what January 6th was, and whether you believed he created it or not. Let's think about what this means and why that is so irresponsible. I don't.
Irresponsible's a good word for that.
Or just a fucking weird way to leave 4 years of leading a country with a fist.
Right. Now,
you're supposed to support these people. I just have a hard time with that.
He hasn't had respect for that office since day one. So I'm not expecting a lot with the leaving of the office, given that you didn't respect it the way you entered the office. There was very little respect while he was in office. So, I mean, it's par for the course. It's very on brand.
Yeah.
I get that.
His
I'm
brand.
not excusing his behavior by any means. I find it repulsive. I just think, wow, just really got me this morning with that one. Now, I haven't seen the clips of him actually leaving on Air Force One. So, and I don't even know. Yes, because Marine One's the helicopter. That is what took them to Air Force One to go. I don't know where they're going. I don't know. I find it despicable that he's not going to be there. Well,
I don't think he was supposed to be there. I mean, like,
yes,
he did.
The section of one president, like in the 1800s, has been at the inauguration for the exchange of power.
Well, everyone knew he wasn't going to be there, and I'm happy he's not there. I will tell you why.
Agreed.
I think it would cause too much of like an animosity, or it just right now, I just don't think it's a good call. In my mind. Okay, I think it's a good call.
I get that.
I bet that was Biden's
again, I think it is it's one of those, it shows a lot more about your character and about the inability to have class. The fact that you can't put your own personal ego aside and do what is just right.
And we're not asking you to dance at the ball. You don't have to
go dance. It would be really.
It's like a lay on side value. Yeah. So
it would be. You know what? It would provide 2021 with the rest of the memes, and then they wouldn't need anything else.
I'm not really. I think it's just a big signal about where we are as a country. Like, and I hope. I woke up very anxious today. I'm like, I hope nothing bad happens today. I know. It's me. And I think it's like a doom and gloom mentality. And maybe I was like, oh my gosh, is like the world going to collapse? Is my passport up to date? Like, it is like one of those mentalities, which I've been all kind of hope on the podcast lately. I'm like, I'm so full of hope. And like today, I'm just kind of, I am hopeful, but I just don't know.
Yeah, no,
I feel so uneasy.
Yes, I agree with you, and I think a lot of people would feel the same way of like, your stomach's tight, like your butthole's clenched, you're like, oh, are we okay? Are we good? Yeah. Like, I get it. Like, I totally understand it. I think I just feel like I am so excited for the next chapter, and I know that we're not done finishing, like, reading the last sentences of this one, but I'm just so excited to get to the next stage of this that I'm like, okay, yes, we can do this. So, I mean, I do have a lot of hope with this. Like, I do have a lot of just like,
I do too.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I feel like there's going to be a better, like, cabinet. I feel like. I feel like you can't get much worse. Well, I think the turnover rate was the last administration. I just didn't understand. That was one thing. I'm like, honestly, I'm not really too much into politics because I can't take it last year. But I'm like, the amount of turnover was kind of crazy. We can admit that.
Yes.
And also, we can also like look at the corruption within it. Like people are in his sphere went to jail.
I mean, the fact that
I guess
he spent his last final hours of his presidency pardoning Bannon, for God's sakes. I mean, come on. Like, I mean, again,
and Lil Wayne. I'm like, okay. I like Lil Wayne.
I mean, I love Lil Wayne too, but I'm like, dude, I've always said, like, if you get caught breaking the law, you deserve to get your punishment. Like, I get and I understand, like, the idea behind a pardon is you have served your time, you have righted your wrongs, and you know what, everyone does deserve a second chance. I fully wholeheartedly believe that.
I believe that.
Has any of these people have any of them? Well, I mean, I won't say have any.
We should look into it before we make a blanket statement, because we don't know.
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Steve Bannon hasn't served his time. I'm pretty sure he's just an ass, or as my father-in-law, God rest his soul, used to say, a pimple on the ass of society.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
that's gross.
That's where we are. But you know, Ed Kessler always had a way to give it to you, nice and straight.
He did.
Love that man.
It's gonna be a new day.
It is a new day.
It's a new year. Still.
Year.
How are you allowed to say Happy New Year?
Okay, I'm gonna reinstate that today because I'm happy today that it's a new year, because it's like a new thing, like a new president's coming in. I feel like a new wave of hope, so I'm gonna reinstate my Happy New Year starting today, because up to this point I was ready for a refund. I was like, nope, I got this 7-day free trial period and I'd like to turn it back in. Not interested. No, don't want to subscribe.
My first 30 days sucked. I will tell you, I have kind of been a slow start. I mean, in a way, because we didn't know how school was going to go. We didn't know how the world was going to go.
We didn't know zombies were coming.
We didn't really, honestly, every day I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There was just so much uncertainty that I feel more certainty now. I'm like, okay, let's move forward. The only thing I was certain on is like, I could, look at memes all day. That was my only certainty. So I'm ready to tackle it. We had our Manifest podcast last 2 weeks ago, which went over really well. You guys had a great time listening to it. I'm really happy that you guys loved it so much, and I can feel you guys manifesting all over the place. Vision board, writing in your journals. High five to you. But today, sometimes when you're manifesting, you get burnout.
You do.
And there is no bigger burnout year than last year. And sometimes you're carrying that stuff from 2020 into 2021, which is obvious. So we're going to go over that today.
Yes, we are.
Which I'm really excited.
Yes, I love this topic because I feel it so deeply in my soul. Like, I do get burnout. I feel like, not often, but in 2020, I feel like I was burnt the fuck out.
Mentally,
physically, emotionally. I was like, what's happening?
There's so much coming at you all the time.
Yeah, so you do get burnt out with that. And a lot of times burnout can look different for different people. Some people don't realize that you can have burnout outside of your job. You can be burnt out with parenting. You can be burnt out in friendships. You can be burnt out in, relationships. So there's a lot of different ways you can get burnt out without physically having it be just a job.
I feel like the definition of burnt out is when my expectations of what it should be are no longer taking place, and I feel like I have to I'm like trying to overachieve my expectations. Like, so there's nothing being achieved, but so much expected of me that's not offering anything back. So that's just kind of like mentally.
So
I didn't Google that.
You're getting more, like, you're not getting the return.
I'm not getting the return. I'm making a lot of deposits, and there's
too many withdrawals.
Got it. So, and that could show up many, many different ways.
Yep.
How does it show up for you?
Okay, so a telltale sign for me when I get burnt out is that I get short with people around me. I'm sure Miss Brittany will have plenty of stories to tell about that. I get...
No, I don't kiss and tell. Or I don't get moody and tell.
That's not true. I get frustrated easily. I just feel like my irritation level is so easy to trigger. And then I just get frustrated when I can't complete a task. And I'm like, I just want to, because I'd love to just check things off a list. I'd love to just cross it through and just be done with it, because I really have a hard time. I can multitask really well, but I really like to finish a project before I start something else, because I like to invest what I'm doing and my time and my energy into like one thing at a time. Like, that's good. I mean, it's different when you're just like, I can do the dishes and make lunches, kind of at the same time kind of deal. But like, it's different if I'm like working on one project that I know is going to involve a lot of my creativity, a lot of my energy. Then I want to owe it to this project to finish before I start something else. So that's, I feel like a roundabout way of answering your question.
No, I think you nailed it. Okay. I think you're very goal oriented, but yes, very task oriented. So when you can't complete that, it's like you cannot compute.
Right.
It does not. You're like, I can't see the forest of the trees. It will be all you think about.
Yes.
It will be like 100% on your focus. So yeah, I totally agree with that. And you do get a little moody, but I feel like that's anybody. I don't feel like that's a shame factor, because anyone's like, I've put so much time. If you invest a lot of time in something and then you're still not reaping those rewards of checking it off a list.
Right.
Well, anybody gets anxious.
Yeah. And I think that's a great way to put it. Like, I don't expect my amount of work going into a project, I don't expect that to be received and given back to me by the project that I'm doing for other people. I my happiness comes from like completing it and knowing that I gave it, my best. Like that's where I'm like, yes, okay.
I did everything I could.
So one of the things that comes with burnout, and like, well, why does burnout happen? And a lot of times, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways that you can do it. Again, your expectations aren't being met, and like you might not have the resources to complete a project. Resources meaning time, money, emotional capacity, bandwidth to complete something. So those are things that are, can be easily taxed.
Other people, technology, reliance on technology, which we definitely learned last year that it is a dependence. Hard. If it's not working out for you, that can be a huge hindrance on your project completion.
And that starts to impact your stress level. So as soon as you start to get stressed, you're welcoming more stress into your life. Like your stress vibe is like super high, so you're going to be attracting like more things that are like contributing to that stress. So the internet goes out, and then all of a sudden you can't get things done on time, and you can't get things done completely like at all, and then your stress level is just like through the roof, and you're like, again, not something you can control. But that's also something that can lead to burnout, is your lack of control in a situation. And I know for me that is one that like, I'm a Virgo. I like control. I have control issues. I know this about myself. So when I lose control in especially a project that I started, I get super pissed. I'm like, ugh, I just want to be able to finish the task the way I want to finish it and be done with it. And then I think a lot of other times, like lack of support can be part of your burnout equation. Like if you're like, I have been doing this by myself, or like I just need someone to say like, you got this, keep going, or you're almost there, like, you know what, you've done this so far, you're doing a badass job at this, I love it, yes, like great example, the amount of time it took me to put together the first YouTube video. Like these are all my examples from that exact project, because I did have tech issues, a lot of them. I did have time issues, a lot of them. I did have a lot of like just a lot of little interruptions. I mean, I was in my office one day for 6 hours straight with not even realized I was in there that long. But like, it was such a yes day for me as a parent, because my kids were like, Mom, can I do this? I'm like, yep, you're good. Yep, you can do that. I'm like, how long have you guys been on your iPads? And they're like,
all day.
Same time you've been on your computer? I was like, ooh. Well,
that happens.
It does happen. Yeah. And again, I had to give myself some grace. Talk about that in a minute. But that's like, I put so much pressure on myself, because you actually were so supportive, and you're like, oh my God, you're doing an amazing job. This is so badass. And like, I had the expectations set really high, and you weren't providing any pressure as far as like
no, because I know how you are. If I would have done that in any match, you would have, number one, locked up. Number two, snapped back at me. Number three, like I would never work like that. Like that's not like, if you're trying to achieve a task, and I already know the expectations you put on yourself,
right,
all the time. Like she puts, I could never amount the amount of pressure you put on yourself to do something. I'm like, you know what? Like you've already achieved it. Like my expectations are so low. So whatever you do, it's like you're gonna blow it out of the water for me. So, but that. And I felt really guilty because in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, did I tell her she had to add something? I was like, well, you know, it'd be really cool if we could do little doodads to our video. And I call it doodads and like the words and banners and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, I can try.
Well, it's funny because I already know what you think and like what you're going to want to have. Like if we were going to do this professionally, what would Brittany ask for? And I took that list and I was like, okay, this is my list. What am I capable of doing on this list? And it was like, that is where I would start, you know, like, okay, first we just had to get the audio and the video to line up.
Mm-hmm. And then you had to just, and check off that list from there. List.
You know, and again, it was a new software. So there was a giant learning curve. There was a lot of YouTube watched and trying to figure out how to use this stuff. And, you know, I'm making headway and I'm doing things and, you know, it came out great. It didn't like there were definitely things when I look back at it, I'm like, I wish I would have spent a little bit more time here. But what I learned throughout this process was I just have to be more accepting of like giving myself more grace with it and giving myself the like that space to be like, it's okay. This is your first time doing it. Like it's not going to be a Spielberg, you know, like production.
You're not going to enter it into like film contest. It's not going to Cannes, all right?
Get a blue ribbon. It's, you know, it's going on YouTube. If 35 people watch it, I'm going to be excited. So
it's like 50. So,
is there anything you want to add?
Yeah. Well, my signs of burnout show up a little bit differently, and I don't know if anyone else can relate, and I would love to know. My burnout lately has been just a lot of parenting. I don't open up a lot about this, but my middle child is having some learning difficulties. And so it's just showing up in very difficult ways I've not been used to. So, you know, it weighs heavily on my mind. So, you know, I've had lack of sleep. I'm very unorganized. I'm extremely distracted. I'm the mental exhaustion that I have by 10 o'clock some days is
AM or PM?
AM or PM. I mean, it's just it is just so much to where I've got to like check out sometimes. And that's where I notice my burnout's been really heavy. I'm really over anxious because again, it's like that fear of the unknown. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. It's so inconsistent. I have no consistency in my life. So that breeds so much anxiety. Yes. I have no way of knowing, like, I don't even know what day it is half the time because I'm preparing myself for the inconsistency of the next day, if that makes any sense. And so I've just been like, oh my gosh, like I literally thought yesterday was the 18th all day, and I was asking everyone's like, what are you guys doing for inauguration on Thursday? Like I thought it was Thursday all week. Like all week I thought it was not on the
20th.
It's always the 20th.
Always.
I was a day behind all week. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? So that's just how I've just been noticing that I've been working and I want to do better and I want to do more, you know, but sometimes, you know, your plate is full and you just have to just be like, okay, let's chop it up. So, that's, and you know, Shannon's a good partner with that because she knows like a lot's going on. And, you know, when parenting's first, you know, your kids are first, it has to be, because if it's not, then shit's going to go just start falling all around you. So we're really trying hard with that. So that's how my burnout shows up.
Yeah. I massively. I totally understand that. I think a lot of times the things that you find comfort in when those are gone or when those are depleted, like that can help stir the pot of your burnout. Like I know when, like if my creativity starts to get low, I'm like, I know burnout is there. Yeah. Like I've hit the burnout page and I'm like, okay, got it. I mean, I love being creative. I get so much just joy from that when that burnout bucket is like lit, I'm like, there's no creativity in there.
You're like scraping.
Yeah, it's like
scraping.
It's done. So, and I feel what you're saying definitely with the parenting, because you get burnt out with parenting. And it's not that it doesn't mean you love or like your children less. It just means you are just burnt out from the unknowing, from the lack of control that you have in the situation, from the lack of stability you have in the situation. So, I mean, parenting,
and you heavily judge yourself.
You do.
Yeah. Because I have found saying very unpopular things to myself. Like, I love being a mom. I do. But I hate parenting. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, there are joys of parenting, but as a whole, it's very hard right now.
What's your least favorite thing or job or hat that you wear as a parent?
Discipline. I'm awful. I'm very inconsistent too, because again, when there's inconsistent behavior, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it is just so much. And with 3 kids, I'm not trying to say like there's people 4, 5, 2, 1, whatever. I don't care. But with 3 kids, like, it's very hard to manage 3 personalities. And so what one discipline works with one kid doesn't work with another. And then what and it's just, it gets loud. It does get loud. And so, so that's probably my number one, is that, wow, discipline is very tricky. And also, like, just basic housewife shit. Like, I fucking hate that shit.
I know. I hate being a referee. Like, that's the one that I hate the most.
Right.
At some point, I don't care who took whose LOL hat off the doll. I don't give a shit. If I have to hear one more time, that is not your jacket.
I know.
That's not either. Did either you pay for those? No.
Yeah.
You didn't.
Hey, spoiler alert, your room's not your room. It's my room.
Right. You pay rent here? Nope. You live here rent free.
Yeah.
So, technically, you need to stop.
You know what does not live rent free? Your attitude. Get out.
Right.
Bye.
Ugh.
All right. So how are we going to help these folks conquer the burnout?
The burnout. Yeah, some tips.
Because we're very, professional to, do this. We're not. That's my, I'm not qualified voice.
Yeah. Unqualified. I like to take a pause. Like, I know I get to the point where I'm like, okay, one, if I'm like, I can't see straight, and I've done this before in the past where I think I can just push through, and I end up deleting a whole podcast and having to record. That's awful. I know that if I just if I'm too tired, but I still try to go still get work done, then it just creates more problems than what it's worth. So I have learned that taking a pause. And it could be minutes, it could be days, it could be weeks, it could be just whatever pause means for you. Create space in that project outline. And when I say project, I don't mean just a task. Do this with your parenting as well. If you're listen, I am burnt out today, I'm going to need a minute. Take a minute. Take 30, take 60, take 90. It's a basic human right to want to be away from conflict. So take that time. And
even speaking to an argument you have with your spouse or partner, I think that is a great place to that's another thing you can get burnt out on. If you're going round and round the hamster wheel about one fucking topic, you can get caught up in it. And women, I love to win an argument. It is my
She
life's
is looking for
goal.
A trophy wall in her house to collect trophies in the arguments that she wins.
Yes. I'm going to about my day. I won that one. And because I want to mentally be I see what I did there. You see what I did? But I have to learn too that that's not how a partnership works.
Spoiler alert: there is no trophy for being right the most amount of times.
No, there is trophies for being compassionate and empathetic and really seeing the other person's side and be okay, that you made up a good point. I will work harder on that.
I do think
I'm working hard.
That just because you disagree with what someone's opinion is does not mean you have to change yours.
No.
And if you disagree with their answer, doesn't mean you have to change yours. You can both have 2 schools of thought on something and both be validated in your points.
That's some of the best disagreements. It's you know what? I see your point. I still appreciate where my point is, but I understand where you're coming from because of this life experience or what you've brought to the table. Yeah. That's nothing bad about that.
I do think also giving yourself more grace and less grump. We've said that before on the show. That's something that, I repeat often, More grace, less grump. More grace, less grump. Okay. So it's so easy to get grumpy with yourself. And then as soon as you check that box that it's okay to be grumpy with you, you've already allowed yourself to be grumpy with other people. Mm-hmm. So if you're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to give myself some grace here and be like, this is hard. This is a hard task. This is a hard time. I am limited resources right now. I'm depleted. I'm not working at my full potential.
Right.
I can't expect that my best outcome is going to be a byproduct of my lack of resources right now.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I completely
give yourself grace with that.
I wrote down gratitude a lot because we hear this all the time, and I get it, and I understand. Like, stop telling me to be grateful, but any religion, any self-help, anything you're gonna go to do, the first thing they're gonna ask you to, or any mental obstacle, they're going to say, "What are you grateful for?" Right. So there has to be something within the human existence. So that's where we start.
Yes.
So I've always thought that, although hard. Though like kind of, I don't know, bumper sticky, that's a new word. When you do have those moments of, gratitude, it is easier to be like, okay, to let go.
We're not recording.
Shut the fuck up.
We're not recording here, but we're recording here. So I'm like, this is such a good podcast. We're having such a good time right now. And I look down, and it's not red. It's not red right now. It's not red.
Where is it supposed to be red?
It's supposed to be red here. This is supposed to be red. I didn't press play. I didn't press record.
I say we just keep going. This is the YouTube.
We're going to keep going. But just know that the audio on this one is going to sound really bad, okay? Oh my gosh.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out.
We're going to keep going. You know what? And here's the thing. Because we're going to find one aspect of gratitude in every project that we're doing. Because it just takes one. And you know what I'm grateful for right now? That my friend isn't going to beat me up after this. I'm very grateful for that. I'm also grateful that I pressed record on that thing so that we do have this content in some way, shape, or form.
So good. It's so good.
Yeah. So.
Okay. One of mine was, this is very, very tricky, is to set a sleep schedule, which I fail at miserably every single year. So maybe I can start to do that. And it's like 3 out of the 7 days. Like, man, I really rocked those 3 days.
Yeah.
Because my next one was set boundaries.
Yes. Boundaries are magical.
Because I really feel that when I set a boundary, it is so much more beneficial for me mentally. And one of the ones, and I texted you this morning, I'm like, I'm trying to be more honest with my time. So that's a boundary that I set. Like, I be, like, I could have probably made it at 9:30. It would have stressed me the fuck out. I probably would have been here at 9:40, whatever. And also, with the people around you, be more honest with your strengths and, like, where you might fail. So, yes, take on a new task, but also be honest and, like, you know what, that's not my strength, but I'm going to give it a try. But just know that I might need help or whatever.
Right.
And then, okay, so I always ask myself too, like, is this working? So after you've been honest with your time, been honest with your strengths, and then come back, be like, okay, is this boundary working within the realm of which I set it? So parenting, relationships, work, maybe a workout schedule, maybe a diet. I don't know. When I say diet, by the way, I just mean the way you eat. So that was a couple things I read. And then read something positive. That's fucking hard to do right now.
Well, sometimes a positive thing could be a funny meme.
Which I love. It brings me so much happiness.
Yes. So it doesn't have to be this, like, grandiose, fill your soul with all the magical things that are make you a better human. It could be just a cat falling off a chair and you giggle and you're like, that's funny. Like,
it's funny.
Cat videos are funny. I'm not gonna lie.
What's on your list?
I said also, like, find one aspect of gratitude. But a big one for me is to go outside. Yeah. Like, I love that feeling of, like, that first inhale of fresh air I get, like, after I've been, like, on a, stressful, like, what could be a stressful day of parenting, I go take my dog on a walk, that first, like, breath of fresh air that hits me, I'm like, oh, yes, it's exactly what I need. And bonus if there's sunshine outside and I feel that, warm sun on my face, I'm like, this is where I need right now. Like, I feel so much connection between outer elements and inner happiness with that. And something that we learned in therapy that you do the 5-4-7 breathing, where you inhale for 5, hold it for 4, breathe out for 7. And there is like brain science of those numbers, and it helps to like reset your thinking patterns, and it works. And like, it's something that we do with my oldest daughter. And I mean, even she's like, you'll catch her sometimes just off in a corner doing her breathing, and I'm like, I know that like she needs a minute, and I'm like, all right, cool.
I love that, because that's teaching her to take a pause, but also really realizing that things do work.
Yeah.
Like systems do work.
Exactly.
Systems work.
Yeah. Something else that, like watching a show, like sometimes you just need to check out. And sometimes like, you know, I think we've talked about this before, but like, I don't always love reality TV shows, but I am super on right now with Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and Southern Charm.
I cannot wait for the new episode tomorrow.
The small things like that where I'm like, I shouldn't be this interested in people I don't know, but like just the fact that their shit shows are just so much more comforting than my shit shows, that I'm like, this is great. It's such a happy like escape from my reality sometimes, that I'm like, I don't mind. I really don't mind getting caught up in, you know,
the minutia of their everyday lives.
And then another thing that I really like to do is, especially when I'm like super burnout, is I have to do something that makes me happy and is predictable. Like if I bake a cake, like, or muffins, like I know that recipe is tried and true and it works for me and it makes me happy, then like I like to do things that I know on the other side of it, like I know how to get it done. Like I just need that win. I'm like, this is a win I need today. Okay.
Yeah, you do like cooking and kitchen and stuff like that. Like that's like that is your joy. You love, like if you have a taste for something, like I'm going to go and do this because this is going to bring me joy in this moment. She does a really good job with that. I totally agree. I had that down too. I had down make your joys non-negotiable. Mine is 100% a mug and coffee all the time. Like I have these all over my house. I have them all over the place. I drink coffee pretty much all day, every day. I
mean, I have mugs in my house for her and in my car just for her.
Yeah, they're just everywhere.
They're everywhere.
In around the city of Louisville, so if you see one, just like get back to me. I think that is something like the way you have your beverage, or another big one for me is I have been really enjoying these lemon popsicles from Whole Foods. They're so good. It's like my nightly thing. And like, it's so funny when Landon comes in and he's like, you want a popsicle? I'm like, yeah. It's like, we know that's the close of the day.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't think about how many calories it is, because I don't even think like that. But like, I don't care. I'm like, yes, I just want my decadent popsicle that is like 3 layers of goodness. And it's just, yes, it just brings me so much joy. So, and I also said, resist checking your phone for the first 10 minutes of the day. I did start doing this. You did this last year, and you said this, and I was like, you're crazy. But when I started doing it, I don't have to, someone else isn't dictating how I start my day.
Exactly. I love it.
When you said it to me, I'm like, that makes sense. But when you really do it.
Yeah. You're like, oh, wow, this is nice. Yeah. Another one that I had is talk to people you trust.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because sometimes it can be so isolating to have burnout and not want to tell people, because maybe you're just ashamed that you're like, I shouldn't be burnt out of parenting my kids. Yes, the fuck you should. Like, this has been a very trying time for all parents. Stay-at-home parents, working parents, kids that don't have parents. Like, all the things right now are so hard.
Yeah.
So hard. So it's okay that you are feeling burnout. And being able to talk to somebody that you trust about that, equally as important.
Because you get in a shame spiral.
Right.
Like, oh, I shouldn't feel shame because I have all your gratitude will say like, well, look at all the things I have around me. I shouldn't feel this way. Yes, the fuck you should. It's not a competition.
Right.
We are all in this weird realm together. And I think that when we do talk about it, you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad that you said that, because I'm feeling the same way.
Right. And you wouldn't blame somebody for feeling burnt out. So don't blame yourself for it, but also you wouldn't blame somebody for getting out of their burnout, right? So it's okay. Like if they're experiencing burnout too, and they're like, you know what, this did help me, but that solution didn't help you during that particular moment, that's okay. I mean, it's great to talk to people about that, just so that you kind of know, like, you know what, that worked for me, but this certainly did not. Cool. You also, I think it is so valuable to know in this lifetime what you don't like, just as much as what you do like.
Damn, it's actually frees my mind. I said, make a list of what lights you up and what doesn't.
Bing bang.
And it's so true.
Yep.
isn't the definition of insanity
doing the exact same thing, expecting a different result?
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So I love a list just like you do, but I love a list of just, that's how I journal. Like, it is a list.
Mm-hmm.
It is crazy amounts of like little check marks and little things like that. That's what makes sense to me. If I write sentences, they're so jumbled, but list, I'm like, yeah,
right,
and get down with the list. And then like that thing that's really positive. You can offer the gratitude, but also like, this is what's working for me. This is what's not. It's a great inter-assessment.
Yes.
Of your brain.
And one other thing that, like, if you've gone through all, or sorry, because I want to finish with this thought. So if you've got more things you want to talk about.
Yeah, I had one.
Okay, go ahead.
Don't underestimate your shower thoughts. Or your driving thoughts.
Or your toilet thoughts.
Or your toilet thoughts. Like, there is some great shit in there.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I have come up with some fantastic content. I usually text her right when I get out of the shower.
She also has won many arguments in her shower from,
the
like,
shampoo bottles.
Ago.
I've heard it.
Exactly.
The shampoo bottles know what's up.
They fear.
Mm-hmm.
They do their job quietly.
Yeah.
Because they know.
They know. They know. Like, this bitch is
That's
for
so
real.
true. That's where a lot of magic happens there.
Yeah, that's all I got. Yeah,
okay.
that was it.
I'd say, and if you've done all of these things,
yeah,
that we've said to do,
yeah,
and they're just not working,
yikes,
it's time to move on.
Whoop. Yep.
That ship has sailed for you. You've given it everything that you can possibly give it. It still didn't turn out the way you thought. Move on.
Yeah.
Just don't let it live in your space any longer.
Mm-hmm.
Your energy is much better served someplace else. I promise you that.
And you are your own gauge. You know what you're able to take on.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let someone else tell you what you're able to take on.
Right.
Like, you know. If you're saying to the world, like, I've given it, man. I don't think I can give any more. And someone else is like, hey, you can give it more. No.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but Kamala Harris was like saying, like, she's like, there's always going to be people that tell you can't do it. And then this isn't for you. You're not the person for the job. She's like, you know what? I eat no for breakfast. And I was like, I need a bowl of nose for my breakfast too, girl.
There's gonna be a syrup. Kellogg's is like gonna be like, oh,
mm-hmm.
It's gonna be NOs all over.
And you know what the theme song's gonna be? Oh no,
oh no,
yes. Oh no,
oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I love it.
Okay. So for our hot takes today, I have two. Well, okay, I'm gonna start with a question first, and then into a hot take.
I was so not prepared for that. Okay, good.
I know. Okay, I told you I came prepared today.
Okay.
Are there phrases that you hear that you wonder, where the hell did these things come from?
Oh my gosh, yes. I can't think of any, but I'm like, what the?
I've got
Louisville,
one,
Kentucky is full of them.
That just spins in my mind constantly, and I'm like, what the fuck does this mean? You can't have your cake and eat it too. Because I'm like, I made the fucking cake. Why can't I not eat it? I don't understand the concept of you can have your cake, or you can't have your cake and eat it too. And I'm like, what? So I actually looked this up, okay? And I'm like, where did the origin of this came from? This is like from 1800s or some shit. Like, it's a long time ago.
Of course.
Okay. And where the translation gets tricky is that the word have, we associate with eating. Like, oh, would you? Yes, I'll have a piece of cake. I will have a piece of chocolate. I will have a cup of coffee. Have meaning to take in, to ingest. That is not where the translation or the real literal meaning of this means. It means you cannot have your money and spend it too and expect to save the same amount. You cannot have...
Well, they should just fucking say that.
I don't understand where the cake part of this came from, but I was like...
Maybe cake was, like, it's such a decadent thing to have, or a delicacy that they were like, no one ever had cake, and so, like, you can't... Okay, I mean, maybe, but, like, now...
You can't covet your cake and eat it, too. Like, you can't have both. Which I don't love that saying. I've never found, like, the justice, equal in that saying. I'm like, I don't love it. Another phrase that, oh gosh, now I'm drawing a blank. Oh, the beat a dead horse. I hate that one.
Yeah, you do.
But there's a new way we can say that. It's, you don't feed a fed horse.
Yeah.
It's not so, morbid.
There's some morbid shit. The human language is so dark. Like, we have a text stream of yesterday, and I said, hey, if you want to be a messed up mind, go ahead and Google these two things. So I had them Google
Now you have to tell this story.
No, I
I
had Shannon Google the why do graham crackers exist, or why were they invented?
First of all, where did you hear this someplace? And you're like, I
on
need
the
to find
interwebs.
Out? Okay, I'm like, I'm confused.
I got
Were you
lost
just really bored
down a deep. No, it's just like, you know how you get lost
Mm-hmm.
and you just and then you're there, and all of a sudden you're like, you're here, and you're like, why did someone tell me to do this?
Right.
So basically, it was to curb sexual thoughts and energies. They thought graham crackers were gonna be it. And I'm like, that's so messed up by the human existence. Like, I just can't get over it. And then I found another dark hole, and this was a few weeks ago.
This one really disturbed me.
Why do chainsaws exist? And it's not the Texas chainsaw one. Like, that's a different one. Like, I mean, that one was a later model, but the original chainsaw existed for birth, for women to sever their bones to get babies out. That was the original use of a chainsaw. It looked way different than the ones that we see at like Home Depot, but that was the original use. That's fucked up.
I mean, so many levels. Fucked up with this. The fact that even happens, and I think I said this to you yesterday. I was like, I never want to hear another man complain about getting kicked in the balls ever again. Because if an entire tool was created to sever my bone in half in order to get a child out, fuck you and your balls. Fuck you and your balls.
Well, see, here's what happens too. Like, y'all everyone's so amazed by murders and everything like that, and people plotting things. Are we? Should we be that shocked when these things were created for weird purposes like graham crackers and chainsaws? I'm just saying. It's not that off. Humans be dark.
They are dark humans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of them.
But we're going to find the light and the gratitude. And we're going to put some chocolate and a marshmallow on a graham cracker called a s'more.
Right? Mm-hmm. How about the glow up of a graham cracker?
For real. It was like, I'm going to need a new PR agent because this one isn't working for
Honey
me.
Maid was like, got you.
I got you, boo. Honey Maid. Maybe that is a thing too. You know, Handmaid's Tale, that kind of thing. We see you, Keebler. You little elves and trees.
And don't tell me it is what it is. That's my saying. I'm like, I don't know what it is, and why are you saying it is it? What is it?
I think it's for people who just need to have the last word. I really do.
It is like nails on a chalkboard for me. No one ever come at me like that.
Okay. For our hot takes. Popular movies you've never seen. Do you have one? What would it be? But most people, if you were in a group of people and they're like, oh, this is my favorite movie, and it happens often that people will say that this is their favorite movie, but you've never seen it. That you're like,
The Big Lebowski.
The Big Lebowski.
Never seen it.
You're married to Landon Swan and you've never seen The Big Lebowski?
Not I think I started it one day and I fell asleep, which is me. I'm like, that's the cue. The universe saying, you don't need to watch this.
I got it. Well,
what's yours?
My husband's favorite movie, well, one of several, is Shawshank Redemption. I've never seen it.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
I've never seen it.
I'm gonna need a minute.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. It's okay. Well, you watch it on your own time. When you do watch it, I'm gonna be watching you the whole time. See that? Did you see this? Did you see this?
Yeah. And it's not something I'm proud of. I mean, I just
never got around to it.
I just never got around to it because I keep hearing the same how have you not seen it? I'm like, I don't know that I'm emotionally in the space yet to just be with a movie like that. But
it's a heavy. You sit with it, and then when you watch it again, you're like, I didn't sit. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a deep one. There's so many aspects to that movie too. Wow. You know what's really okay? I swear to you. When you asked me this question, if she says Shawshank Redemption, I'm gonna fall out of my chair. I swear to you, and we mind melded. I was like, she's gonna say that, and I know, I was like, she's gonna say this or Forrest Gump.
No, I
swear to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
Mm-hmm. Is there an item out there that you're like, I shouldn't have been that old to figure out that that's what that was? I should have known that a long time ago. For example, growing up, I'm a child. I was born in late 70s, so I grew up in the 80s. And the introduction of the double disc CD I always assumed when, like, again, back in my day, you would call to get CDs brought to your house. Or you did you have this little, like,
what was that called?
For a penny, you could get, like, 7 for, I don't know.
What was the
Publisher's Clearinghouse or something?
Oh,
no, that wasn't it. I don't remember.
But you get it was like a thin paper and I totally remember that.
Yeah. So I thought a double disc CD meant that you got one for your house and one for your car. But it was like the same music on each CD. And it wasn't until I went to college,
right,
1997, that I realized, no, you idiot, a double disc means there's so many songs they needed to put them on 2 separate discs.
Okay. Oh, okay. So did you ever notice when you went to put the different
I
discs
never
in?
had a double disc CD until college.
Okay, so you thought they were like giving you like a deal.
Right. I was like, this is a steal. I think people need to do this I think everybody just needs to have a double disc like all the time.
Yeah, because you need to.
Then that way you don't lose them. You could keep them in, your little portfolio of CDs, that thing that you would zip and you would take it from, your car to your friend's car because sometimes they didn't have the music you wanted to listen to and you got to sit shotgun, then you got to fucking make the music happen. Yeah. I honestly thought that you got 2 of the same ones, not a collection of great music housed on 2 CDs.
Well, I think I can see the thought process behind that. Although I didn't have a double disc either. I think it was like maybe like Michael Jackson, which I'm so shameful I even owned, but like I think that was like the first one maybe I had, or maybe like Bone Thugs and Harmony.
They didn't have a double disc.
Oh, I felt like they did.
No.
Maybe I bought. I feel like I had like a big opening. Oh, it's the first of the month.
Come on. Yeah.
Okay, mine was kind of recent. I remember texting you this. The proper pronunciation of last ditch effort.
Yes.
I thought for 38 years it was last stitching, like you're stitching something together, effort. I didn't know it was last ditch
with a D.
Tell me that's not weird. Like I've just figured that out.
I think there would be a lot of people who are on the same camp with you.
You think so? Okay. Well, I feel some kind of promise then. Okay, then I feel vindication and validation.
Yeah.
So.
I didn't know the word stan was like super fangirl. Like I stan with Heather McMahon. Like I thought it was stand with the D. Like I stand with her. No, stan, STAN, is like super fan. Like you're obsessed fan.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Damn, taught me something new.
Mm-hmm.
Be learning all over the place.
Thank God for the internet.
Information age.
Yeah. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And
only visual
today. So we're really gonna be driving traffic to the YouTube channel this time.
Hopefully.
With a full episode. We hope.
I don't know.
We don't know. But we really appreciate it. And if you like what you've seen in today's episode, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I don't know where it's going to be on the screen, but I'll make some doodad.
Little doodad.
Happen on that. And go ahead and pop on over to wherever you check out your podcast and
rate and review us.
Rate and review us. We appreciate it.
We'll be getting more. I really appreciate that.
Yay!
Or we really appreciate that. But I checked it today and really appreciate all those extra little rates.
Dings.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, look at us. We're climbing the charts. Thanks for being with us, guys.
Bye.